Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to today's eSports Report. Benson joined at the desk today by, of course, Christopher Puckett and Jack Dunlop. And we have a jam-packed show. We're going to be touching on what happened in Pro League yesterday and also this evening with some Vulcan picks. But how can we not address the hype of the day? Black Ops 3, we finally got a little...
that was today?
Was it?
I didn't know that happened. I didn't know.
We finally got a little peek at some of the esports features. A lot of people have been very, very excited for it.
Yeah.
And I was blown away. I don't know about you guys, but Chris, we were in the office watching it. We're all like in the conference room.
We basically stopped working for 2 hours. We just gathered up. Everyone on the video team said, hey, you know that script you were working on? Just throw it away. Because all I want to do is talk about Black Ops 3.
I mean, we found out so much stuff. Like there's a ban protect system. That was something I was tweeting about back in Black Ops 2. I was like, how cool would it be? You know, you see other esports modes kind of use something similar. Specialist draft. You've got some game modes confirmed. We saw Uplink's definitely going to be back. Yep, we know Hardpoint is a staple.
M8?
Yep.
It's back.
M8, man. That's back as well. Arena, which is basically kind of your league play, rank play, that's going to be back. And Von der Haar kind of touched on a couple of stuff from that. One of the big things as well, in-game event integration. So we learned a lot, but we kind of wanted to take a deep breath, take a step back, and go one by one through everything. Starting really with the ban protect draft. This is something which is brand new, never been in any Call of Duty. You see it here on your screens. And it's just such an awesome feature because, as I said, so many other esports use something just like this. And if you missed the conference and the reveal, essentially it gives each player the ability to either ban or protect one item in the game. It can be anything you want.
And the cool thing about this, Ben, is it shows how much Von der Haar and those at Treyarch have been listening to what the community wants and needs. I think I saw you tweet something today about even right now, this is great to have, but it's still not perfect. I think right now, it's been mentioned that it's kind of like when this pick comes up for someone, it's kind of first person to get to something.
Right.
Is how it is. Well, maybe in the future we want to have a home team gets first ban or pick, and then the other side. Just like little improvements that I'm sure we will see come launch.
That was actually a really interesting point because you said, I tweeted out saying, it seems a little bit weird it being fastest finger first.
Yeah.
So, Chris, for example, if it's me and you, if I'm censoring your Tommy, that first pick or
I'm not
banning
a thermal.
I mean, well, whatever you run at or whatever you decide to protect or ban, it's whoever can get that first. Now, what I personally would like to see is the highest seed gets to ban or protect first. So if you're better than me,
said that, right?
Yeah.
I mean,
you think it's right now fastest finger?
It's fastest finger right now because I saw Merc himself. He was tweeting out and he was saying, I kind of like it being fastest finger first because it means you have to adapt on the fly. Ooh. Other players, not the same. They said, you know, if I'm higher seed, I want that advantage of being able to protect or ban.
Think if something's starting up and you know, hey, this guy's really good with the Man of War, as we said, like we were seeing from Buzzo.
Right.
And basically, the thing that determines the thing that determines the entire game is if your person on your team can either get the pick or ban against him in that fastest finger in the first thing. Like, it seems a little fluky for me.
It's a little strange, but you'll see a little bit more team strategy come in here. Like, for example, if I'm first pick and I know if I'm let's say I'm an OBJ sub and I have first protect or ban, and you know Chris is my dominant AR slayer. I'm going to be protecting his primary weapon. Whichever weapon he is going to be slaying with, that's what I'm going to run at. It gets a little bit more in-depth as well as we kind of looked at one of the kind of screens of the settings from it that you can go in so much depth. Personally, I think maybe you would like 2 protects and bans per player as opposed to just 1. I think 1, there's still a lot of other stuff which is open, as well as that Merc was tweeting out about potential base bans too. Not sure how I feel about that because I feel this has been implemented to try and keep it as close to the actual game as possible.
Right, yeah. Base bans are obviously something that Von is going to want to avoid, right? We want to come out of box. That's the whole reason this is here. You can get rid of it. It's going to be interesting how this plays out. Of course, picks and bans, notorious throughout the MOBA scene, now being implemented into a first-person shooter.
Yeah.
I don't know how it's really going to play out in a competitive space.
Really?
Yeah, it's like...
I'm super stoked for it.
If neither of us use or ban shock charge, do we just have a gentleman's agreement not to use shock charges?
That's what I'm kind of
And then we really just ban specific guns. Like, is this how it's going to play out? Or are we going to ban specific specialties, like the Annihilator? Or
I hope to see it used kind of properly. I don't want it just to be the same things every time. I don't want to go into this phase as like a caster if we're kind of sat there and we're like, well, you know, we know that this is going to get banned. We know that this is going to get protected. We know that this is going to get banned.
And everyone's just going to use it.
Because I don't want to see, I don't want to see everyone using the same thing. The reason that this is so cool is because if I know you're dominant with the M8 and my AR is dominant with the Man of War, I have to make that choice. Okay, do I protect or do I ban? Do I target you or do I save my own AR?
Do I value my Man of War more than I'm scared of your M8?
And that's such a decision which can't just be made kind of on the day. You have to know your opponents at this point.
Yeah.
I have to be tracking, all right, how well has Puckett been playing with his Man of War? How well was he playing with the MA?
I love, because, last time I got a chance to go host the CEVO tournament, and I got a chance to meet up with Gabi, one of the, he's basically the in-game leader for Mouse Sports in the CS world. He had 9 pages of notes for his matchup against Cloud9. He knew exactly what they're going to do in pistol rounds, knew exactly what they're going to do if his team was up or if they were trying to eco. And I hope to see that being implemented in Call of Duty. I think that's like the evolution of esports, is when the captains are forced to take that time to study their opponents before a match.
What's really cool is as well, I think this could maybe promote coaching coming back, because now there's actually a reason to be a coach, right? Right now, as the game is played, you don't need a coach. You really don't. But someone taking notes on every single team, knowing, all right, Puckett's KDR with the Man of War is a 1.3, but with the M8, he's only dropping 1.1. So clearly you can see that decision. Again, that's a pretty extreme example, but you can see you can ban anything you want, from attachments to streaks to actual weapons themselves.
I wonder how many assault rifles can you ban?
Every single one.
Like, if I'm a really good sub team, can my 4-man squad just be like, no Man of War, no M8, you can take AR number 5 on the list if you really want it.
And that's the great thing, because then it forces the AR heavy team to realize, okay, in their first 2 protect or bans, they banned out ARs. Do I have to protect an AR now on my choice? Like, is that the go-to move? So there's a metagame developing inside the actual game itself, which for me is just absolutely awesome.
I think to point out too, Chris mentioned how in MOBAs they have the ban phase right now, and as everyone knows, in ranked play in League of Legends or for their biggest tournaments, when teams face like the best player in the world, Faker.
Oh, they target him.
They just ban the best mid lane champions he has, and put all 3 of their bans on that. Imagine in Black Ops 3 now, Ben is a god or Crim's a god, and they're like, well, we know he's just going to dominate us with these 3 things or 4 things, and they just completely target ban him out and try to phase him out. That's the type of stuff and strategy that can come in now, and that's kind of where the coaching aspect comes into effect.
I really think we'll see coaches come back. I think it kind of makes sense, especially with this kind of ban protect system, but it kind of goes a little bit further as well, because it gets to the specialist variations as well. So within this whole time, you can see this now, the specialist draft on your screen. Now, from everything that we understand, you can have 2 of the same specialists on your team, but it has to be the other variation. As soon as one variation has been drafted, you can't then draft that same variation.
Was that said in the video today?
We actually went back and we paused the video, and when they were drafting for the specialist, it said on the first variation, drafted, and it was blocked out. So it seems like you could draft the other variation if you wanted to.
Gotcha.
But that's something which I guess we'll kind of have to wait and see till we get some really hands-on experience.
Still speculating, but that's the way we're leaning towards right now. And of course, this is also an exhibition, so we wonder, are the players being suggested to try and use stuff that is completely different throughout?
I'm super stoked, though. I really am.
It looked like the Overdrive was a popular pick for the objective players. Want to see how that continues to play out. And then also I was really surprised to see like the Annihilator being banned, I think, going into Game 2 or Game 3.
After Game 1, someone got a 3-piece with it, and everyone was like,
it's so strong.
Maybe we should get rid of the Annihilator. Maybe we should ban that, because someone was running it and they were pretty good with it. And that's really interesting as well. When you look at the kind of protect ban phase as a whole in a series, you do it before every single map. So if you're using the Annihilator map number 1, and I'm going into an uplink and I'm thinking, Puckett, he got the Annihilator like 3 times that game. He was getting 2 pieces. He was clearing out hills. Maybe I should consider targeting him for map number 3. It's the bigger picture as well, which for me has me super stoked.
I think that's something that we're going to see too with lesser known teams who try to bring out some crazy tactics and they kind of use them in Game 1. Then pro teams will have to adapt and be like, whoa. Then Game 2, they kind of ban out some of those things, and you'll see them over the course of a series get better. It's something that TSM in the last split for League of Legends did best. When they would lose a Game 1, they would adapt on the fly to things they weren't expecting and then improve in Games 2 and 3 and typically come back.
Smarter players are going to be rewarded is our 100%. Individual thoughts, our initial thoughts coming into this one. Something that I wanted to talk about here is we saw kind of the picks and bans and then the specialist selection, and then it went into create your class. Do you think that this is now going to delay pub games? Because I was thinking right away, is this going to be something that is universally hated by everyone who gets it on day 1 and just wants to jump into pubs because it has a 90-second countdown? So
this isn't actually going to be in pubs. This is only for the esports variation. So if you're going into the arena, for example, you will have this draft phase.
Fantastic.
So for pubs, I don't think you need to worry. I think you should be absolutely fine. I think one of the things a lot of people were concerned about was, all right, well, now at events, before every single game, you essentially have this extra, almost 5-minute period to try and fill that time with. And then that 5 minutes escalates pretty heavily. If it's a best of 5, that's a lot of time. That's only half an hour spending on picks and meds.
And I think something to point out, too, on that is even the most competitive out-of-the-box games that you think of right now, there are still those slight differences between the quote-unquote casual or public mode versus the competitive-driven esports mode. It's in casual versus competitive in CS or non-ranked play where it's the draft and the pick and bans versus just blind pick where everyone just goes for what they want. There are those slight differences. It's not a game-breaking thing or it's not something that distances you too much. It's actually, I feel like it would kind of make people want to try it out and see how they like it and possibly, hey, now they go into it, they're not a competitive player, they try it and they're like, I really like this.
Right.
And then they keep playing.
I'm super stoked for definitely the kind of protected ban phase. I think that's going to add a lot. Right. But immediately after that, we actually got to see a little bit of Codcaster. And this is something that we were all super, super excited for. Obviously, it's what we spend pretty much all year looking at.
All day.
So it was even more amazing to see how you can customize it. You can put team names in, you can pick exactly what you want to show, colors, absolutely everything is customizable. Listen-ins, they're back. Not sure how often we're realistically going to use that though, with players daisy chaining, etc. But still, the fact that it's customizable is so good. It's no longer kind of just fumbling actually in the game with left trigger. You can do all this before the game's even started.
And the big one for me here was the listen-in built in once again. I don't know how many teams are actually going to be using the in-game listen-in, but that was a huge favor for me back in Black Ops 2. I hit left on the D-pad, and all of a sudden, I'm listening in with complexity. In the early pro scrim days, that was a huge tool before everyone went over to Skype or TeamSpeak.
Curious to see if maybe more players use it. And there you can just see a quick look at some of the stuff you can turn on. Obviously, player HUD, player card, score panel, playlist, the listening feature, third person. You can toggle that on and off. That's interesting. And of course, X-ray. You can safely assume that that's COD vision from other games. Then it goes further. What was really great is actually in the frame just before that, there's an advanced settings as well. So you can go like even further. And then here you can see like all of the settings. So X-ray, we saw in the games being played, it was just the enemies. I assume if you go up and you swipe to the right, you can put it on everyone.
Both. Yeah.
Like, just the amount of customization is absolutely mind-blowing. And what's going to be really funny is casters trying to come up with the basic standard of, all right, this is how it kind of should be done. Because I think there may be some disagreement.
Well, from what I understand is that you can set caster profiles, so you can like go into a thing and set a caster profile. So let's say I sit down and I go to cast, I can put it on my Jack profile, or then you go down to cast, you can set it to your Ben profile. Obviously, I don't know if it's set to an account that you use, but interesting to see if I'm casting from home and the broadcaster from MLG and I have a little bit better or different way that I think than Puckett likes to set up. It always happens.
It's like even on AW, I prefer only seeing the enemy COD vision. I know some people like highlighting both. I'm just like, well, I even like seeing the opposition plays. So we always have those little disagreements. Who's a better driver as well? That's always
Ben's very vocal about
a common one. That's because I've watched so many people miss so many good plays.
I watched this weekend at Gfinity, and I think it's pretty clear, Ben. Without us in the tournament, there's some struggle buses.
People driving on the wrong side of the road. You Americans didn't adapt very quickly to that left-hand side.
Just speaking specifically about the Codcast mode, can we jump right into that?
Yeah. Let's jump over to your screen because I know you wanted to kind of just highlight the differences really to what we see now and what Treyarch have done. They've done a phenomenal job. We have our editing tool out as well on the screens.
Yeah, and apologies, guys. I ripped this from a YouTube video just before we went live. So ignore this little red bar and everything. But, of course, here's a big one for me. It's so easy to tell right away. What team are they on? Yeah. It's green or it's red. You can set the team colors. I think that's massive. As well as the logo, you can decide who are you going to assign team 1. That's going to be the left. Who is going to be assigned team 2. And then we have basically the same setup that we had back in Black Ops. You got your streaks here. You got your hardpoint captures, and then simple KD. You don't need a ratio. Don't need anything extra there. Mini map. Very vibrant. The arrows, the person that you have highlighted yellow once again if you're hovering over him. So it goes back to Black Ops 2, and it looked very easy to use. The big ones for me, though, just coming back, we're going back to Black Ops 2, where you can see the specialist here, score streaks here, and the X-ray is really the biggest improvement since Black Ops 2. So
I think that one thing my friend and I noticed, because we were actually in a Skype call together while watching this, is the kill feed right now.
Yes, I'm
possibly
glad
that
you
can
brought
be
this up.
improved is because right now it's just white for everything. You don't really have team colors on it. Is
I
that
would like to
something
see
you
team
can
colors.
change in Codcaster?
Oh,
Is
that's
it
a good
something-
point,
You know what I'm
actually.
saying? Is that like a profile thing where they just didn't want to have colors? Personally, I think that is something that can be improved to then kind of distinguish who's on which team a little bit easier.
100% agree.
But as of right now, it looks absolutely beautiful.
Speaking of that as well, the only other small improvement I would do to the Codcaster itself is that the top right, the leaderboard there, isn't actually dynamic. So you could have, Kivy at 6 and 28, still at the top of the leaderboard, and then you could have someone else at 21 and 11.
Now, I actually made that request.
Really?
Because I find it so frustrating if you're
when
trying
you're
to
trying
get
to
to the
change
guy
players?
who's about to get the objective, and then all of a sudden the
Someone else
leaderboard
changes?
flips on you. I think
That's a good call,
I think
actually.
the backup to this is you just hit the back button on your to bring up a full screen scoreboard, and that should auto sort. So
clever.
I think static is the way to go. You'll always know where your guy is. If you're watching Search and Destroy, you know where a player sets up. You know how to get quickly to Crim 6. You don't have to really mess around and go hunting for him on that player list.
That's cool.
So
I like that. That's thinking outside the box. I didn't think about that.
The big one here, while we're on it though, is I love this new addition here. Hardpoint. Ben, we were watching kind of how it played out.
Does it bug you real quick that the timer isn't centered? You see where it says 53 seconds?
Yeah, that could be
It
fixed.
drives my OCD crazy. I'm sorry.
Let's just get rid of everything here.
That's just kid.
But yeah, you can see kind of how it all played out with the timer. And unless you're in the hard point, it's going to tick down. So this is just going to stop you guys in pubs from just racking up kills
And dropping
on an
100
endless
kills,
game.
yeah.
But as soon as you got in, then the timer goes away. So you can see no limit. There's a team inside. So this is going to never... We're going to be able to avoid, I guess, those mathematically impossible situations. The game
Always
is going to
hate
be played
those.
out until it hits 250 or 200 or whatever we decide the final score limit should be.
What's awesome about that is comebacks now. How cool is it going to be if a team is, like 230 up to maybe like 100, and you're like, oh, well, previously, Jack, there's a minute left on the clock, this one's over. Now it's, well, hold on a minute, maybe we could actually see a comeback. And I think at the end of next year, we could be sat here going, what were your favorite comebacks from Black?
And something else to think about,
Definitely
too, is
happen.
if a team is down by, say, 2 full minutes, where typically it would be mathematically impossible, then they get 30 seconds and they chain together some kills, and now kill streaks are back, and now
Right,
they're
exactly.
specialists. So now they can really start to get on a roll, and there's even more of a chance of it happening. I think it's a great point. I think one of the best moments is going to be looking
It's
back
gonna be
at the
insane.
on the year of Black Ops 3 and saying, oh, remember the second event when they came back by 170 points? It's going to be so sick.
Well, I love like right now when we finish 184 to 183, like both teams inside of the school battling and there's contestant, but I still want a winner. I don't want it to come down to the
Exactly,
clock.
right?
I want to see like, okay, well, now we're gonna play this out until the very
I still
end.
think you can
Yeah.
still have those moments. Like with this, I just think it's going to be a lot more kind of skillful as a whole, because
And-
you have that decision. If I'm up against Jack, say like 230 to 200, my play could be, all right, no one get on the hill.
Yeah.
Slay around the outside of the hard point and
absolutely.
bleed the clock down so that he literally cannot come back into this game.
I feel like
pushing the spawns out.
Yeah, I feel like the situation that Chris is talking about will happen much less with this new setup.
Mm-hmm.
And then also something else to point out is in regards to the timer being like this is just the sheer amount of I forget what I was going to say.
It sounds good. You got distracted by the Annihilator.
I
Tommy is
literally
really
couldn't
good
figure out
with
what I was
this.
just going to say.
The only thing I would change is where it says no time limit. I would just like to see the current time frozen. So like where it freezes
Okay.
like that, like at 6:44. Just show me 6:44. I don't need to know there's no time limit, because when you get like a couple of minutes into the game, it's important that you know, oh well, there's a 100-point lead. If they don't get on the hill,
That
you
makes
know there's only
sense.
2 minutes
Yeah.
left. That's the only really like kind of small thing that I would like to see changed. I like obviously the hardpoint timer on the left-hand side. It's also bottom middle.
I'm wondering if you could put like the word pause underneath the time, or maybe just
Maybe
the
it goes
pause
like red.
symbol
Maybe it
up
goes
to-
red, or it goes like a blue, or there's like a something visually to the time. Like maybe it just that circle kind of highlights yellow to symbolize like caution, and it's frozen.
Oh, I remember what I was going to say now. In regards to sorry, this is
Go ahead, Jack.
But it seems like a lot of AW hardpoint games, at the end of them, it's kind of like a math equation where you
Right.
and the booth and the viewers are all kind of going, 18 seconds, 19, they need to come back. Is it still possible? And you're kind of like trying to add up instead of actually like being into the game. With this new setup, I think that's going to, as we mentioned, be much less of an issue and kind of be a better viewing experience overall.
I'm still going to tell you this is a 40-point lead for Team TP, when in fact it is 33.
Yeah. Casters
Casters are never going to be able to do math, but I like this. I think the new addition to Hardpoint, the new change to the gameplay is really cool. And we only saw a small sample, and this just has me excited across all game modes. You know, we're still going to be able to explore the new game modes that come out with Black Ops 3. What other things have they been thinking about to help improve the esports experience all around?
So one of the big things, just kind of on that talking note, is the arena. And that's something I'm super, super stoked about. Obviously, it's kind of replacing league play, rank play, whatever you want to call it. It's replacing that. And from what we heard Vonderhaar explain was it's very simple. If you win, you move up. If you lose, you go down. But if you want to get demoted, you have to lose 2 in a row. So there is kind of some leaning ground there, but he also explained some pretty explicit rules, like if you lose, you go down 2 ranks, et cetera, like that. It's pretty efficient stuff.
Yeah, so I mean, really stuff to look forward to in regards to Black Ops 3. I mean, honestly, the arena, I saw people kind of questioning how good is it going to be, what are we kind of looking at here. I want to wait and kind of see more from it. They kind of described it, but we didn't see anything in regards to how's it going to wind up working. Looking forward, though, to finding out more info.
So basically, if you quit, you D-rank, because you need 2 losses in a row to D-rank. So that's really pretty interesting. There's 20 total ranks. Every 5 ranks, you need to win promotion games. So.
And this is kind of what we've seen in other esports titles. I mean, StarCraft has one of the best ranking systems I've seen. Counter-Strike has a pretty darn good ranking system.
I like the Counter-Strike one
right now. And it doesn't really let you know, though, when you're on that promotional game.
Yeah, you can just kind of tell, right?
I hope it tells you in this game that you're on a promotional game.
Do you really?
Yeah.
Do you not kind of like that suspense?
We are playing right now to level up. Like,
but then
the speeches that Aches will be saying right before these moments happen.
But then if you don't know, it's kind of like, well, you know, I've won like 3 games in a row. Maybe this is it. Maybe this is it. I have to go super hard. And then you'll go super hard like 5 games in a row just to get that promotion. I think that's like there's pros and cons, I think. I like both ways. To be honest, I'm not really bothered. If you tell me, great, because I know I have to go hard. This is the one. But the kind of surprise is always nice. In terms of the gameplay, though, you kind of saw it here. One of the big things that we all picked up on straight away was the pace. Very, very slow. It's kind of back to what it was in Black Ops 2. Not too slow.
Yeah,
you can still move around pretty quick if you use the wall jumps and the boosting. Well, not boosting, but the jumping. But the actual pace of like the sprinting, etc., is very, very good.
And I hope we get to see TP doing a little bit later here. But there was a point where he just went on a complete flank using that wall jump, and he got behind 4 enemies just as the rest of his team was hitting the front. And I thought that was, okay, maybe the game is a little bit slower, but you can still get around the map very quickly. And if you make use of these walls and the wall jump ability, you can maneuver pretty quick.
Looks like it's going to be a great year. Of course, this is just a look at one of the game modes. We're going to go through and highlight every single one of them for you guys at home. For now, we're going to go to a quick commercial break. When we return, we're going to be talking all things Search and Destroy, and then going over to the fan favorite, Uplink.